Good morning, folks. This is Midnight Brands coming to you with prep for April 27th, 2023. Apologies, as usual, I am always running a little bit behind here. Just wanted to try to get everything lined up and prepared in order to have all the charts done up and whatnot. Had to spend a little bit of time this morning walking through and just checking on outside things. Had a nice little storm roll through here in the central Texas area, and so I just wanted to check all that fun stuff out first before we got into things. Not a whole lot of kind of retrospection on yesterday. It was pretty decent levels and whatnot. Didn't really get the stuff we were looking for. Missed one hell of a trade on CL, and actually the algo caught one hell of a trade on GC. So I guess there was a little bit to say there on yesterday. I'm going to go ahead and close the door here real quick, and I'm going to start us off here with the econ calendar for the day. Okay, so to get started here, as we can see, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern, start getting into a good bit of econ data with weekly jobless claims continuing, consumer spending, GDP stuff, core PCE. I mean, there's no shortage of news stuff here today. We even get some natural gas inventory stuff, and then looks like some Kansas City Fed data later in the day. Right now, you got ES actually coming into a good size zone. I have to keep an eye out on it and see what and all how it plays out here. With that, I'm just going to go ahead and drag this over real quick so we can spot check this and see where things are at overall. So yeah, ES is definitely up there into its spot. NQ is actually above its trend guide now. We just haven't updated yet here. And ES just pushed above it, so I'm in the off cycle there. YM is pushing through. GC is definitely making. Oh, those are the cheats. I'm sorry. Yeah, there you go. Wow, ZB is way down there. So is TLT. Apple up near its trend guide, AMD up near its trend guide. Just gonna have to check on Google and whatnot there, but pretty interesting on where things are sitting and looking at right there for the moment. With that, gonna go ahead and flip over here and start just jumping into things. So SPY ran through all of these last night. Sorry, SVXY I should say. So SVXY right now it's about 67.15, so gapping up just a little bit, almost a buck. Won't really change much in here in terms of the prep. As far as I'm concerned, it does mean we're already getting pretty close to that daily trend guide, weekly trend guide. Not really spending any thought process at all on the 67.47, which you can see was the historical structure. So it's there. You can trade as a div if you want. It's not high on our list there. I did get picked up, as you can see in the stuff. It wasn't kind of in our mind as what we were watching. Above that, you got weekly pivot point, full ADRs, and just beneath there is the tier 1 daily cheat. Above, if we decide to keep going and really get pushed into the upside here today, we got a gap fill just above that, and then above further would be that monthly trend guide reversal, weekly trend guide reversal, up there at the 69-ish level, which would be a new high for the month. Below that, obviously, is trend strength, weekly trend guide 2, AR1, so really good size zone there with the 20-day and swing anchored VWAP, daily anchored VWAPs just right below there. Did try to hold that 20-day with that weekly trend guide 3. You got a gap fill there with that trend guide reversal, so not a bad zone there either. And then trend guide 4 with gap fill. And then ending way down there with a kind of mini supply and demand starting to form around that 64.50-ish level, tier 1 end of week cheat, etc. So pretty straightforward on SVXY. Over on VIX, I was noting, yeah, kind of interesting reduction 2 days in a row right off that 50-day EMA. So you came up and poked it on Tuesday, got a rejection, came up yesterday and ticked it and rejected off of it again too. So pretty interesting in my mind just on what and how it's interacting with that 50-day there, which today is right at trend guide reversal, and it is also at the tier 2 daily cheat. Beneath that though is that where is that? Okay, no, sorry, we added this weekly trend guide 3, supply demand low. Yeah, so it did not originally pick up the weekly trend guide 3. It was just a little bit outside of the hair of the range. So that gets added in there to this zone 3. Don't care about trend strength really at this point. Would be more interested in watching this spot here below with weekly trend guide 2, supply and demand, 20-day EMA, tier 1 end of week cheat. So this was the weekly boundary, first tier of the weekly boundary, with this being the second tier up there. She got that, so do we try to close back beneath it? You know, what do we end up doing? Right now, we're actually down near trend guide and the tier 2 daily cheat on the day. Further down, you end up with the weekly trend guide 1 and the tier 3. Sorry, this was tier 2. Yeah. Event last on the list there is full ADRs, weekly pivot, and gap fill for the day. There we go. Hopefully that'll help. So SPY is right now 40, call it 407. Prep last night was at 405, so it's gapped up into weekly trend guide 2 and the daily trend guide. So really need to keep an eye out and see, like, do we gap above and push, in which case that would then put this weekly trend guide into play here. Obviously the full and photo ADRs will move way up if we're gapping up $2-3. But it'll be interesting, like, how are we going to interact with this zone here? If we come down and if we come up and get this and fail, that's one scenario. But the one that'll really get folks into a bunch is if we gap above and then come back to trend guide and then fail, at which point I will probably just ignore all of these pieces of evidence, hopefully be able to catch it, and come down and watch it, either tag the, do a high or low or something here off the weekly trend guide 3, maybe close this gap fill from way back in March, so maybe even set a little bit of a lower low and not even come down to trend guide. But this would be a really interesting zone to see what we're going to do, especially given that Apple is already way up into its trend guide for the day. So is AMD, so is Netflix. You get the VIX and stuff down near the lower edge of its zone. So I don't know, there's a lot else really to say there. I did combine this zone here, the weekly trend guide, lower weekly anchored VWAP, gap fill, cheat one day with quarterly pivot, so just kind of lump that into one spot. But the daily trend guide reversal is really, there's a swing anchored VWAP there. It is a little bit violated. I had it just to keep myself honest and remember that there's also the weekly anchored VWAP there. The daily is right in and about that area is the bigger part, so it's probably going to be just a touch lower, especially given that's from 12:30 in the day, so it'll have missed the first several hours, 4 hours of trading there. So yeah, that's SPY Qs. Moving on there. Added this WPP Tier 1 daily cheat right there. Let's see, Qs real quick too are up near 315. So they're already above their daily trend guide and are pushing up further into That's supply and demand. So that definitely would, you know, just from the looks of it, puts this in play here for the day, unless it also does the same thing of gaps above, daily trend guide, and then fails it. Definitely will have people watching for it, so you need to be cognizant and cautious, whichever one you want to use, of, you know, it being a trap. So given kind of where it's at too, would probably also note and watch, since we're up at, what did I say, 315. Would keep an eye out on this spot up here, this weekly trend guide reversal, weekly full ADR, especially with this econ data today. So maybe we do something, we come up and push, we come back and reattack the weekly pivot point stuff, and then we go and close out the week up here. As it stands right now, like we close down here, we're gonna flip the weekly trend guides. So anyway, I'm gonna move back down here lower. So you got the daily trend guide, supply and demand, 20-day falling below that. Probably should have marked this as orange. You have your weekly trend guide, trend strength reference point, swing AV WAPs right there. And then down here you've got your daily trend guide reversal, March 13th, which also have a weekly in there too, but you know, swing daily anchor VWAP stuff, gap fill from just the other day. With this monthly pivot point and gap fill, it looks like there. There is the daily cheat right there. It's kind of ignoring it with how the Qs and NQ work. Would watch kind of more at this bottom edge of this spot here. And then certainly a bigger zone down here where we get the angel pivot, 50-day supply and demand low, full ADRs, which will obviously move, but you do have the weekly full ADRs, and I dragged it down to include the gap fill there. All right, moving on. Next is ES, and as I said, it is pushed up, and it is into this zone here, which is the daily trend guide zone. There's also a swing anchor VWAP in there. There's a weekly trend guide, tier 1 daily cheat, supply and demand low. So I did make it a little bit wider because I also wanted to capture some of this structure that we had in here and kind of this failed kind of poke that we had yesterday before the sell-off and whatnot at that 41.12-ish level, which hit really nicely with the swing anchor VWAP there, which is now just a touch above actually the trend guide and the high volume node there. So you've got that zone again that we're interacting with. Looks like we're trying to push away from it right now. It is only a couple 5-minute bars in, so a little hard to say. In any event, you have that one there. Added this div here, the 20-day. You have to continue to watch and see where and how it trades. But right now, it is it's really just kind of inside that zone area there. Above that, you get your weekly trend guide. There's a high volume node there, full ADRs. And just beneath that, you end up and you come into the supply and demand high. The photo ADRs are just a touch lower, so they'll probably be outside of that. But there's also a naked VA in there, it looks like from Monday. And that's definitely an area that we just sliced right through. If you come back in, if I look at that, like that was just a big slice right through there. So that wouldn't be an end of the or unheard of either, is to come back just given how we slice through there and test and see like what do we really think about that zone. Kind of shoved right through it before, and then right here we just tested and it blew right through it. So yeah, in fact I think I'll stay zoomed in here. Above that one we've got a div. There's the high daily anchor VWAP there, combo high volume node, which marches highs. And then further above, we end up with bottom edge of supply and demand. There's a combo point of control, and there's definitely a bunch of other stuff up here. That's starting to really get up there. That'd be about 70-ish points on the day. And we're still not trading any of that, so yeah, let's move down below. So on the downside here, we have kind of where we ended yesterday at. So you got supply and demand there, you got a gap fill, you got a low volume node, swing anchored VWAP. So obviously the weekly IB stat is right there. So definitely a lot of evidence right here in this zone here, right? 50-day EMA. And so this is a good size zone. But the bigger zone is down right here at this big block, right? Daily trend guide reversal, annual pivot. There's a weekly anchored VWAP. You could also say there's a daily one, which is why we dragged and kind of combined these two zones here. You could take it from this 40.59 and kind of 40.60-ish level and drag it down to include the supply and demand full ADRs. I don't know. I'd have to see kind of where everything else is at that point. Like if we decide to fail there, I would be hesitant and want to watch this, but have to watch price action. If we get a good toothpick candle off of this, then as long as we're still within this boundary, we'd probably take it for a long. So it could be like a fake breakdown, go down, grab this, close the naked VA, hit supply and demand, and then reverse. So it could be interesting, but I think if you fail that, then be watching out for this block here with the monthly pivot, weekly trend guide 4, supply and demand low. It was full and photo ADRs. Obviously those have moved up with price, so it's not them. But I did also add then this bigger block down here below. This would be crazy. This I don't think would be a today thing, because then we'd be up at yeah, it'd be like 90-ish points or something like that. So yeah, just have to see where it all sits out. NQ, moving through it, it's got a lot of zones in its stuff for the day. It is already up past this trend guide zone here. So it's already through the 20-day and trend guide zone on itself right now. And is so above that you got your combo point of control, gap fill, cheat 1 day, NVPOC. So there's a lot of good stuff in here. There's also swing anchored VWAP from the highs back here on, can't see that, looks like April 18th, with our photo ADRs just above there. And then moving up, you end up with your full ADRs, weekly pivot point, combo high volume nodes, supply and demand low. There's also an NVPOC right there. You could take it further, but it's already a pretty wide zone as we've got it there. So I think we'd just leave it like that. If we decide to go through and take that out, we added this weekly full ADR, naked VA, supply and demand, and then even further up above, if we decide to really get going here today, is this other big size zone, which got the trend line there, weekly trend guide reversal, tier 3 daily cheat. So let's look on the downside here. And so we marked this just because it's got the NVPOC, which was actually yesterday's point of control. Yeah, because we closed it in the middle there. So it was yesterday's point of control. It was actually the days before. It was right in that same area there. You can see you got that thin gray line there. So it was the previous day's point of control, and then this is today. So these were almost back to back. And so we decided to note inside level, but we decided to note that weekly trend guide zone there with the NVPOC. And then underneath that, you end up with a swing anchor VWAP from the lows, trend strength, which is also obviously inside And it has a combo high volume node there. Below that, you know, extended this here a little bit so that we went up and grabbed the photo ADRs as well as that low, the wick right there. And you got the tier 3, excuse me, tier 1 daily cheat, supply and demand high. The bigger zone really, like this, I don't know how much emphasis I'd put on it. The bigger one would be this zone down here, right? You got the weekly IB stat low. You have what else is in here? So you got monthly pivot, daily trend guide reversal, which is now full ADRs actually. Set of photo, lower weekly anchor VWAP, double gap fill in there. We dragged it up just to grab the top gap fill. And the tier 1 end of week cheat. Okay, yep, makes sense. And then below there we have a div, 50-day EMA, gap fill, tier 2 daily cheat. There's also a naked VA right there. And then we added these two zones that you can see here. So weekly full ADRs, annual pivot, NV-POC, naked VA. So the NV-POC is right there, and that NV-POC goes all the way back to this big day, March 29th. And then interestingly, right beneath there at the weekly trend guide 3, you know, damn near to the tick from the looks of it, you get that big gap push, or that big push I should say there, that really started that big several day run. So does NQ, gonna fly through RTY in those here. So RTY, big zone there, 20-day weekly trend guide reversal. Get into a little bit of a div here with high volume node, naked VA, tier 2 daily cheat. This was an interesting structure set here, so you could treat these like, you know, maybe you treat the weekly trend guide reversal too as a zone, but then you combine this photo ADR block, tier 1 end of week cheat stuff here, with the trend guide reversal. It's up to you. Like, we've got them separate, but you could combine into one or keep them all separate. Underneath, right, you've got your trend strength, weekly trend guide. It's also combo high volume node there. Did not pull it up to capture the supply and demand. Just didn't feel like it was necessary to do on that one there. Just looking at price stuff over there. Underneath, just really have this trend guide all by itself, and by the way, obviously pretty obvious, but ignoring this gap fill and VPOC stuff here is just, it's there, but I can't really probably even want to ignore this daily trend guide reversal. Like, it's just by itself. So then you end up with weekly trend guide 4 stuff. Got a bunch of things in there. This was an added zone. Ignore this one. This was, at the time, the photo and full ADRs, but they have moved significantly away. Sorry, it was the full ADRs supply demand, but I would ignore that and watch for this block here. The 1696 level goes way back to last year, but you can also see now we're starting to get down here to this bigger block stuff here from these previous lows. So not looking good for RTY there. YM, don't know there's a whole lot to say with it. You know, decent sized zone up at the top with gap fill, supply and demand, weekly full ADRs. Underneath you get your weekly pivot, kind of a high volume node, supply and demand low, gap fill just right there as well. Small little div underneath that with the tier 2 daily cheat. Rarely do I see YM kind of attack these. In fact, we may even just take them off. Gonna go back and look and see how often it hits them. Anyways, underneath, you got another div there with full ADRs, combo high volume nodes, swing anchor VWAP from April 10th. Then we end up with the one that we added, which was the weekly trend guide along with Wednesday's highs there. Photo ADRs, naked VA right there. with our bigger zone really being what it's coming into and flirting with right now with daily trend guides, 20-day EMA. That really is kind of a good big size zone. There's a swing anchor view up there too from April 25th at 9:30 that I did not add to the chart, but lovely enough, the algo picked up and included for us. Under, you can see we got that kind of weekly trend guide gap fill, 50-day from where we left off things kind of yesterday before we had this overnight push. And then we end up coming down really into, I'm going to skip that one for a minute, but we come into this bigger one, trend guide reversal, quarterly pivot, weekly trend guide. And really the daily anchor VWAP has moved up into this zone. It was a little bit lower, but it's ended up moving up into this one here. I don't know if there's a whole lot else really to say here. Can't believe it's already down near, and 400 or 500 points, it'd be nothing really. We had 400 points just the other day. We've traded 200 overnight. So, you know, the fact that, I mean, that weekly trend guide reversal 5 it's there. Or sorry, trend guide 5. Hard to believe, but it is there. It's not looking good for YM in terms of its weekly trend guides. Looks like they are going to flip. So that is YM. Moving on, I'm going to hit up CLGC and then we will wrap up here. So CL, pretty clean zones. Really is kind of disappointed yesterday in trading. Was really watching for and looking at this zone here. I think it was this one here, and just missed it. Like, there's nothing else. Like, wasn't paying attention. Was doing something else, and kind of skipped past it. Beautiful tag of that gap fill, weekly trend guide reversal there, and then nice push up into the 50-day, and then to make entry with insult worse. Caught a piece of the move and closed it for all of about like 40 ticks, and obviously CL dumped big time, like 240 ticks from where I had my entry. So really aggravating, but that's all right. In terms of today, you know, right now it's trying to push away from that quarterly pivot gap fill area right there, along with the tier 1 end of week cheat stuff. It's really spent the entire night. The entire volume right now is just down in that area. It's barely traded anything in terms of a range so far for the day. It's a whopping 61 cents. So really trying to digest that move from yesterday. In fact, the point of control is at 74.46. So it is, yeah, it's barely moved, and it's just up near 74.70 now. Actually would have been a good zone to giving it a shot at, and in fact it looks like there's an NVPOC in here too that I am missing on this chart. The NVPOC is just right beneath the quarterly pivot. I thought I had saved that, and I guess I didn't. In any event, you've got that underneath there. You've got your, we chose to split this into two zones, but there's the monthly pivot kind of by itself there. I'm just going to make sure there's not something else. There is a naked VA right with that monthly pivot. But beneath is that bigger zone where you've got your trend guide reversal, gap fill, tier 1 daily cheat. There's some structure there at 72.93. And again, we pulled in the weekly trend guide reversal too. There's also the weekly full ADRs right there. Underneath that, we added this tier 2 daily cheat level along with full ADRs right there. It is below the tier 2 end of week cheat as well, and the OPEX. So that's interesting, is that the OPEX cheat is right there just beneath 72-ish level. But like I said, it does look like we're going to try to push away here from that quarterly pivot stuff. And it's got a really big kind of low volume area that it would be pushing through from here up into the trend strength and weekly trend guide reversal zone. So lot of open space in terms of volume profile pieces. A lot of open space here, and the NVPOC is just a touch higher than this combo high volume node. So, in any event, upside 20-day EMA has moved down just about into this trend guide zone here. So pretty interesting on that one. Above that, I would expect this swing anchored VWAP to keep falling and move into this div here with the tier 2 daily cheat, combo point of control, etc. And above, we decided to retrace all of that. That would seem really crazy. Like, I'd really be trying to watch this spot here with the with trend strength reference point and whatnot. I think it's where I would be spending my time focusing this morning, watching this. We're going to get out of here in just a few minutes after we finish this. Moving on to GC. So start above, and let's see where GC is at the moment too. GC is still hovering around the 2008-ish level. Let's go ahead and zoom in here for a second. So it's kind of been playing around this area. It came up last night and just tick for tick this zone here, so you could drag it down a little bit to capture those wicks. I didn't. I'd rather see it come up and try to come in and tag this like high volume node or the tier 1 daily cheat, which yesterday was just amazing. It tagged both sides and pushed off of both sides. The high tier 1 daily cheat on both highs and lows. Right there and right there yesterday. It's right where they were at, and it pushed beautifully off of both of them. In any event, above that, expanded that div one there to include the weekly trend guide reversal. And further above, you got your full ADRs, weekly photo, and that's really it for the upside. Like, we could definitely decide to keep pushing, in which case I would probably watch for this zone here, because if we get past really kind of this block here in the 2028 to 2030-ish area, it's really kind of open space. Argue maybe a little bit of structure there. You got your tier 2 daily cheat here, but like, if we get through this 2028 level, I would not want to try anything until I see what happens price action wise, or where we get up here. So, because even the daily anchor VWAP, like, we're just flirting around it right now, and so that's also probably helping put a little bit of a lid on it. Is I'll bet you that daily anchor VWAP, yeah, it's right in that area that we're flirting with. Below, so I marked this as the inside. You got your weekly pivots, 20-day supply and demand, gap fill just a touch lower, and then you've got your combo high volume node trend guide right there with swing anchor VWAP going to continue kind of rising up, probably come up and almost join it, and then there's this trend line here. I'm going back to, I don't remember. I have to go back and look, but it this was its second and third touches here. So didn't include on the map here, but you do have a daily anchored VWAP, April's low and full ADRs just a touch lower at that 1968 65 level, so just like another 10 points or so beneath here. So I think that's it. I don't see any questions. Hopefully that was somewhat clear and informative. Hopefully everybody has a good one. Just wrapping up and looking at things, like ES is trying to hold up near this zone here. It is it did reject off of that trend guide zone. Also had a combo high volume node, like I said before. So really interesting to see what and how it's going to interact there. But yeah, I think that'll be it, folks. Hopefully everybody has a great day, and we will catch y'all later.